Russ Evans and Craig Dolch with you. Golf Exchange presented by the Honda Classic. And right now we're very pleased to be joined by World Golf Hall of Famer, living legend, Jack Nicklaus. 73 career PGA Tour wins, 18 majors, 6 Masters victories, 5 PGA championships, 4 U.S. Open victories, and 3 Claret Jugs, 66 at Muirfield and 70 and 78 both at St. Andrews. Of course, the British Open ongoing this weekend. Jack, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Let's start with the British Open. Of course, as I mentioned, you did win 3 Claret Jugs. 66, your first victory at Muirfield, where the British Open is being held this weekend. When I say British Open, what comes to your mind?
The British Open was, to me, is a special event. It was a break in our summer. It was going to play golf courses that were totally different than we were used to playing, seaside golf. We knew we were going to have wind. We knew we were going to have possibly rainy and windy conditions. Besides that, we knew that we could have cold weather. We knew that we could have hot weather. You just didn't know what was going to happen. It was a championship that, to me, was probably the most fun to play in because of all the differences that I'm used to playing U.S. golf most of my life, and when you go to the British Open, it's just, obviously, as I said, it's totally different. And it was fun. I embraced it every time that I had the opportunity to do so.
Jack, obviously they're playing at Muirfield this weekend, and we know how much you like Muirfield because you named your course in Dublin, Ohio, Muirfield Village. What was it about Muirfield that you like so much?
Well, I played there in '59 in the Walker Cup matches. It was my first exposure over there at all. I loved Muirfield when I played the Walker Cup matches. And then when the Open came back to Muirfield in '66, I'd come close at Lytham in '63, and I'd come close at St. Andrews in '64. Didn't particularly play that well in '65 at Birkdale, but came to Muirfield sort of itching to get back here and play. And I remember all the practice rounds in the tournament, we had a west wind, which is the normal prevailing wind. And when I played the Walker Cup there, most of it was an east wind. And I'll be darned, when the tournament started the first day, boom, east wind. And none of the guys had practiced it. And I had, from being there before, I remembered it. It made the golf course totally different. At Muirfield in '66, it's not a typical seaside golf course as they usually go out and come back. It's routed more like our golf courses with a variety of directions. Even though it's on the Firth of Forth, it feels like a little bit more inland, even though I don't think there's a tree on the golf course, or at least not in play. The fairways were very narrow. The golf course was always in impeccable condition. But right off the edge of the fairways, the rough was knee-high. It wasn't a semi-rough. It was, if the ball rolled off the fairway, you could expect it to be knee-high. We always sort of kidded about it that if you went in to look for your golf ball, don't put your golf bag down because you're going to lose that. If you had a short caddy, you might lose him too. So anyway, it was kind of our fun to laugh about it. But it was a golf course that I wasn't supposed to win on. I drove the ball fairly high in the air. It was a golf course that required discipline. I only used my driver 17 times. I used it 4 times in the first, second, and third rounds. And the 14th hole, the last round, I tried to force a driver, and I hit it in a bunker. Made the mistake of using the driver, should not have. Made bogey, almost cost me the tournament. And I realized that, you need to stick with your game plan. You need to be disciplined. If you're going to play the golf courses in the British Rota, you've got to be able to use the bunkers as where you play. In other words, if you got a bunker at 260 yards, you got to make up your mind: are you going to hit it over it, or are you going to play short of it? You don't want to hit your shot that's going to run by it, because if you hit it offline, it sort of gobbles it up, and then you got a sandwich out straight sideways. Muirfield was even tighter. It was a disciplined golf course, and it was just something that it was very special to me to win on a golf course that everybody said it was not my kind of golf course, and I loved it.
Russ Evans and Craig Dolch, Golf Exchange presented by the Honda Classic, and we're joined by World Golf Hall of Famer, living legend, Jack Nicklaus, a North Palm Beach resident for many years, 73 career PGA Tour wins, 18 majors, 3 of those British Opens, 66 at Muirfield and 70 and 78 both at St. Andrews. Also had a lot of close calls at the British Open, a lot of memorable Opens for you that you didn't end up winning. 72 at Muirfield where Trevino won, 77, of course, the duel in the sun with Tom Watson, And you mentioned your close call at Lytham in '63, Jack, and you didn't win there, but I've heard you talk about how that was kind of a learning experience for you, and that led to a victory shortly after that at the '63 PGA Championship in Dallas, correct?
Yep. I had 7 runner-up finishes in British Opens. I'm not exactly proud of that because that means I didn't finish off 7 times. And the first of them was in '63 at Lytham. I had the scoring system over there. You just don't really know what's going on, or you didn't back in those days. There weren't many leaderboards on the golf course, and I thought that I had a 2-shot lead. And the 17th hole, I had a 212 yards into the hole, and my caddy wanted me to hit 3-iron. I said, no, I need 2-iron to get back to the hole, and really all I needed to do was make par. And I made the mistake of hitting the 2-iron and going through the green and made bogey. And then I drove it in the bunker at the last hole and made bogey, and I thought I'd tied. And I didn't realize that Bob Charles and Phil Rogers, who I had watched play the 16th hole, the wind was blowing downwind from there. The 16th and 18th tees are right together. And I didn't hear any sound from the green, and they both hold 20-footers for birdie. So all of a sudden, and I didn't know that, and so I thought I needed bogey to tie, par to win, and I made bogey, and I thought I was going to go to a playoff, and all of a sudden I lost the tournament. So, but it was my own stupidity to bogey the last 2 holes. So that was my first volley with that, and then of course the St. Andrews I finished second in '64, and then I did finish it off in '66, and but I had a great match with Watson in '77 at Turnberry, and then coming back at '72 and at Muirfield. We came back, and Trevino pitched in at the 17th hole. I lost to him by 1. I guess I finished a shot back to Player at Carnoustie, and a shot back to Watson at Carnoustie. I finished second, I guess, at Birkdale. I finished second most everywhere I played. But, it's the British Open's a tough tournament, and it's a tough tournament to finish because of the conditions. But I remember in '66, I stood on the 16th tee, and we had finished 3-5-4. And I said, okay, Jack, all you've got to do, I was tied with Dave Thomas and Doug Sanders. And I said, all you have to do is finish par, birdie, par. And I said, you're going to win the golf tournament. I finished par, birdie, par, and won the golf tournament. And I came back in '72 when Trevino was there and Jacklin was in it. And I said, I took on 16th tee. I said, okay, Jack, if you can finish par, birdie, par, you're going to win again. And I finished bogey, par, par, and lost by 1. So I again still had the opportunity. I knew what I had to do, and I just couldn't do it. But anyway, I love the British Open. I love Muirfield, and they'll have a great tournament this week.
Jack, when you're back in the 1960s and 70s, a lot of American players did not embrace the U.S. Open, whether it was the travel, the different ball, the different conditions. Even Tom Watson talked about how it took him an adjustment. Was there an adjustment for you when you first started playing in the British Open? Did you warm up to it right away? Was there a period that it took you to kind of really embrace the British Open and all the things that it provides differently?
Well, the first time I went was '62, and the reason I went in '62 is I won the U.S. Open, and we were playing at Troon. And Arnold was the defending champion. And, I did not play Troon very well. I think I made a 10 on the 11th hole the first round. I made a 7 on that hole in another round. That's called the Railway, a very, very difficult par 4. Arnold just nipped me there by 29 shots. And so, but I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed being there. And the next year we went back to Lytham. And then, of course, I almost won there. But the British Open was always just something different and special to me. And, we talk about what we did in those days. When I went to the British Open, first of all, we switched to the small ball. So we had a different golf ball to play. Secondly, I represented a manufacturer, which was Schlassinger's over there, so I switched to Schlassinger golf clubs. So when the first year I went to Troon, I had a set of golf clubs I'd never seen before. I had a golf ball I'd never played before, and none of them fit me. And I obviously didn't play very well. So I went back. I said, well, I better get these clubs to fit me, because if I'm going to represent a manufacturer over there, then I better have the clubs the way I want them. So anyway, I did that, and Slashers actually made a better ball the next year. The whole thing worked out that I started playing better. But we switched, and then of course after '63, I switched back the next week back to the big ball, and We went from 50-degree temperature to 100-degree temperature in Dallas and back to the PGA Championship. So, and that worked out all right. I won that one. So, we did all that in those days and switched around. People talk today about switching clubs and switching balls and all the issues with it. I say, yes, it's part of the game back when we played. You've got to switch and, accommodate what's going on.
Russ Evans and Craig Dolch, Golf Exchange, presented by the Honda Classic. World Golf Hall of Famer, living legend Jack Nicklaus is our guest. Jack, the President's Cup coming to your club, Muirfield Village, in October. I'd imagine you're thrilled about that. Have you made some changes to the course in preparation?
Well, we haven't made anything in preparation for the President's Cup. We are lengthening the 18th hole. I think I've been thinking about how to do that for quite a few years. The guys either hit a 2 or 3 iron off the hole, which puts them down in the driving area where I think they should be, or they take a driver and they drive it over all the bunkers and they play a 60-yard sand wedge. And there's only about 8 or 10 guys that can do that. And I just didn't like them eliminating the strategy of the hole. So I went ahead and we're now putting in a back tee, which is about 30, 35 yards longer, which they're going to be forced to play the strategy of the hole, which is a creek on the left, bunkers on the right, and they won't be able to hit a 2 iron off the tee. They're going to have to hit some kind of a metal wood of some kind to play it down, whether it's a driver or a 3-wood. That's what I want, but that's the only change. We haven't really. I fiddle around with Muirfield every once in a while, make some changes. I did the 16th hole a couple of years ago, but basically, the golf course is pretty much the golf course that's been there. The only difference is going to be in the fall that the golf course will play fast, where in the spring sometimes it plays a little slower. And I remember when we played the Ryder Cup there in '87, and the golf course played very, very fast. And the guys had a hard time keeping the ball in the fairway because it would just run away from them. Golf course did not play long, won't play long probably in this fall. So it'll be a totally different golf course than the golf course the guys see in the springtime.
Jack, the Honda Classic this year gave out a record $2.1 million to over 100 South Florida charities. Obviously, your Nicklaus Children's Healthcare Foundation is the main beneficiary. Things have really changed in the last 6-7 years since you guys came on board to be the main beneficiary of the Nicklaus Healthcare Foundation. Talk about what it means to be able to raise that kind of money in a place where you've been living since 50 years here. Well,
we had golf tournaments in the Palm Beach area prior to this, and none of them were ever really that successful. I mean, we couldn't get people to come out. We had the PJ Seniors there for a while. It was modestly successful, but all of a sudden, we brought when Fred Millsaps called me, who ran the tournament down in Fort Lauderdale, and said we want to move up to the Palm Beach area, and we want to have we always benefit children's charities, and what do you have any suggestions? He says, we think you know the area better than anybody. Well, that was very nice because we had obviously been thinking about how to help kids. And Barbara and I had been talking about, a children's hospital or children's outpatient clinics or things where we could give children's care. Because when we grew up with our 5 kids, our 22 grandchildren, it's either go to Miami or go to Orlando. And so, and parents do not like to travel, with a sick child. It's just not something that they don't like to do. And it's very difficult and very, very time-consuming and puts a big hardship on them. So, being able to do some facilities here has really, really helped children's health care. And, of course, that started with the Honda Classic. So when Fred asked me about that, I said, Barbara, go for it. Go what you want to do. So we did. We started it, and the Honda has grown. The move over to PGA National to the Champ course has made a tremendous difference in the tournament. The players like the golf course. I guess the Bears Trap has sort of created a little bit of imagination to the public, and I think it's sort of caught on, and all of a sudden the players are starting to come. The tournament's been successful. It's making money. We're benefiting charities. We're not only our charity, but hundreds of other charities in this area for kids. It's just been very, very successful. We're very proud of it. We're very proud to be part of it. I'm very proud that we've had the ability to push it forward and help make it successful.
Yeah, we very much look forward to next year's 2014 Honda Classic. More immediately, we look forward to the President's Cup this October at Muirfield Village. And then most immediately, we look forward to today's final round of the British Open at Muirfield, the place where you won, of course, back in 1966. World Golf Hall of Famer Jack Nicklaus, 73 career PGA Tour wins, 18 majors. More importantly, as Jack just mentioned, though, father of 5, grandfather of 22. Jack, thank you so much for the time. We really appreciate it.
Russ and Craig, thanks. Nice to talk to you guys, and good luck with your show, and enjoyed talking to you.